human beings, there is a distinction that we need to make between a human being and a humanoid. Does anybody know how to spell human being?
Yes.
Yes. Human. Being BEING.
What about humanoid?
Humanoid.
HUMANOID.
And so there's a difference between a human being and a humanoid. When you look up the word humanoid, this right here, this is a compound word, first of all. Oi is a Greek word which means to resemble or look like. And so that means that the humanoid is not a human being. A human being, on the other hand, is someone who is being. That means someone who is evolving. That means someone who is striving to elevate themselves intellectually, psychologically. A human being is one who is evolving, someone who is striving. A humanoid resembles or looks like a human being, but it's not necessarily a human being. So human being is a word that we use loosely. It is a word that we apply to everyone, but it is not applicable to everyone, because you have to reach that stage of development. When we're a humanoid, we're still in the animalistic stage of development. We have to evolve out of the animalistic stage of development to the stage of human being. And so that does not apply to everyone. We're surrounded by humanoids, believe it or not. It's the same with male. A male is not a man. A male is simply an animal. It's the same as a humanoid. But a man is one who thinks, because man means mind. And so we are humanoids, we're males, and we can't function as husbands, function as men, because we have not evolved out of the animalistic stage of development. How do you spell husband?
HUMAND.
This is also a compound word. Hus means house, and band means holder. In the dictionary, it says that husband means householder, manager, but it also means farmer. And so a farmer goes out into the field and tills the field, plants seeds for the purpose of producing crop. It's the same as a husband who is, when he's with his wife and he's having relations with his wife, he's planting seeds between her legs. But if the seeds of the husband who's underdeveloped intellectually, and he plants seeds between his wife's legs, and then the baby is going to be genetically predisposed to ignorance. But if the husband is developed, if he is developed intellectually, then the baby is going to be genetically predisposed to intelligence. And so it's the same with crack cocaine. If the mother is on crack cocaine or alcohol, if she's on heroin, then if she has a baby, the baby is going to be genetically predisposed to her addiction. The baby will come out yearning that which she's addicted to. The baby doesn't know what it's yearning, but it's yearning that which the mother is addicted to. And so it's the same with ignorance. If the mother and father are ignorant, then the baby is going to be genetically predisposed to ignorance, as opposed to if the mother and father are developed intellectually and spiritually, then the baby will be genetically predisposed to intelligence. And so this is how we birth geniuses onto the planet. If we take time out to develop our minds before we have children, then we can genetically predispose our children to intelligence as opposed to ignorance. And so how do you spell genius?
GENIOUS.
Okay, genius. Okay, this word is important, because etymologically the word means to be born. It can be traced back to the Greek language, which means to be born. And so we have words like Genesis, which means the beginning. The word gen is in the word Genesis. The word gen is in the word genealogy. So the word gen is in a lot of words that refer to, and so when we talk about genetics, we're talking about that which is to be born, the word gene. And so being, believe it or not, is synonymous with is in the word Genesis. Is means to be. It says in scripture, when God said be, and it is. But that's a process. It wasn't hocus pocus, it was a process. When he said be, there was a process in order to bring that which he wanted to be into fruition. That which he wanted to materialize. That was a process. And so this is about having a fundamental knowledge of who we really are. We've been so severely miseducated that we cannot exercise the power within. We have been taught that everything that is powerful is external, when in fact everything that is powerful is within. It says in scripture that we are made in the image and likeness of God. It also says in scripture that ye are all God's children of the Most High. But we have to reach that stage. The reason why we don't act like God's is because we have been severely miseducated, and therefore we act according to how we've been miseducated. But if we're educated correctly, then we can evolve from the animal stage of the humanoid to the stage of human being, and then to the stage of our godhood. Because it says that we've been made in the image and the likeness of God. Ye are all God's children of the Most High. And so we can evolve to that stage, but first we have to get past the humanoid stage. And so we send our children to the enemy school. And the enemy teaches our children how to think. And the way that we think is how he would have us to think. And so we are never taught a fundamental knowledge of who we really are, because it's not in his best interest to teach us who we really are. Because if he taught us who we really are, then we would actually establish something that would supplant a system that is opposed to our rise. We will establish a system that will surpass his.
Yeah, exactly.
And we would supplant him as the one who is in power on this planet. And so it behooves him to miseducate us so that we can act other than ourselves. And when we act other than ourselves, then we're powerless. We don't act like human beings. And this is the reason why you see the killing in the streets. This is the reason why you see us misbehaving the way that we misbehave. Because we were never taught a knowledge of who we really are. And so when people say, well, they have a choice, they know right from wrong. What is the excuse now? Because we've been 400 years or 300 and some years removed from slavery. What is the excuse now? Well, the excuse is you put them in that condition. You put them in that condition. So now we have come up in a generation that is not teaching the youth. And so the youth are left to their own devices, and as a result, they are acting like savages. They're acting like people who are uncivilized. When you don't have knowledge of self, you're going to act like you're uncivilized. You're going to act like you're a savage. And so it is incumbent upon those of us who have knowledge of who we are to teach those who are receptive anyway, who are receptive knowledge of self. I'm going to start right there. That's all I needed.
Okay.
Just 15 minutes,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because
you just give a little bit at a time.
Just 15 minutes at a time, and I'm gonna edit this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I don't want, people's attention span is like 15 minutes anyway. And so I just do 15 minutes and put up 15-minute videos.
And that way they'll be curious as to
I'm getting a little traction, so they're tuning in. I didn't mean to cut y'all off like that.
That's okay. Well, that's what you want.
That's what you want to get. Like you said, track.
You got 15 more minutes?
Yeah.
15 more minutes to give?
Yeah, I got 15 more minutes to do. Let me wipe this off.
Yeah, let me get 15 more minutes.
Okay.
Because I'm hearing it. I like it.
Now, I hope it. Yeah, she did, didn't she?
Because she like that spelling.
Yeah, I hope younger people do grasp that
Spell.
Yeah, she is quiet for one.
B R
She quiet.
I
And she likes to spell it.
Yeah, she like to spell.
L E. What that spell? Brielle. Brielle.
What she said, me?
Brielle.
She just said E.
Yeah. Still Brielle.
Okay, so we have been so severely miseducated that we weren't even taught what melanin is. Anybody know how to spell melanin?
MELANIN.
That is correct.
Got it.
Melanin.
Got it.
Melanin. Melanin is a chemical in our skin. If we had been taught this in school, then we wouldn't have been ashamed of our dark skin. We wouldn't have been ashamed of the texture of our hair. Let me explain something about our hair. We can do almost anything with our hair as people of African descent. Straight hair really has no texture. It has very little texture. And so when we called our hair nappy, we were speaking as if we were criticizing and putting each other down. But nappy hair is really hair that has texture. This is the reason why we can do a lot with our hair. Straight hair, you can't do a whole lot with because it has no texture. So when we talk about good hair, we should be referring to the nappy hair when we talk about good hair as opposed to the straight hair.
Yep.
But if we had been taught these things in school, then we wouldn't have grown up feeling ashamed of our dark skin and our hair, which has considerable texture. Melanin is another thing that we should have been taught when we were in school, but it's not in the best interest of our enemy to teach us who we really are, because he knows who we are, and he knows that if he teaches us who we are, because we're such a creative people, that we would actually replace him. He knows that. So melanin is a chemical in our skin. The more melanin that you have in your skin, the darker you are. What is also attributed to melanin is that the melanin serves as a defense mechanism from the ultraviolet A rays of the sun. So we're not as susceptible to get skin cancer or contract skin cancer as those who have less melanin in their skin. So the more melanin you have in your skin, the darker